We left off in the middle of Rashi on Pasuk Chav Beis, Perek Yutes. He had cited the Medrash, which is brought by Ramosha Darshan, all the illusions and the symbolisms of Paraduma. So we were holding at Rashi over here, Elozah Kohen. What is Elozah Kohen? This all goes back to the Chet Egel. Red is a representation of what? Of sin. Quoted a Posuk. Im Yadimu Katola. If the sin should be as red as a worm, we find sin is equated to red. Why Elozah Kohen? Kishem shenikolo Aaron shu Kohen lasos egel, just as they assembled around Aaron to make the egel, Aaron osas egel, and because Aaron did participate in the egel, lo nasis avoduzol yodo. I mean, at this point, Aaron is still alive. So it's a little peculiar. If Aaron is still alive, why did Elazar, his son, who ultimately was his successor, why was it told that he should be the one to oversee making the first paraduma? Shein kateger nasis anheger. Because ein kateger, a prosecutor cannot be an advocate. The whole concept, we're going to see, the Torah juxtaposes the laws of Paraduma to the passing of Miriam. Right after we read about the Paraduma, we speak about how Miriam passed away in the 40th year. So Rashi cites the Chazal, the Midrash. Why does the Torah juxtapose the passing of Miriam to the laws of the Paraduma? That just as the Paraduma is mechaper, Mis Tzadik is mechaperis. Just as the Paraduma atones, the death of Tzadikim, the passing of Tzadikim atones for Klal Yisrael, atones for the Jewish people. That's the basis for the juxtaposition. The Paraduma, the only contamination which cannot be removed through going to a mikveh or to something which is equivalent of a mayon, a wellspring, is the contamination of the dead. A woman or a man has a flow, you follow the prescription of how to bring about purity. One immerses himself in the mikveh, he's relieved of that contamination. A woman who's contaminated, a leper, which is one of the most extreme levels of contamination. The person has to go out of the camp till he recovers. When he recovers, goes to the mikveh, he's pure. One comes in contact with the dead, you need the ritual of Paraduma. Without it, you cannot be relieved of this contamination. Now, what contamination? We speak about the contamination of the dead. The contamination of the dead, how did that come about? That came about because of the Chet Egel. At Sinai, from the time we said Nasa v'nishma, until the Chet Egel, the Jews were meant to live forever. We reverted back to pre-sin of Adam. Why was it pronounced Adam should die? Because he ate of the Eitz Hadas, because he ate of the tree of knowledge. What did the tree of knowledge, what did it contain? It was Tov v'Ra. It was the essence, the unadulterated evil was contained in that fruit. When Adam ingested that, it was inextricable. It could not be taken out of his body. And all existence became putrefied with that evil. At Sinai, what happened? Adam was disenfranchised as Adam. All his future potential of spirituality was forfeited. Who assumed that position to achieve a level of perfection and perfect existence, which was the original objective of creation? Only Klal Yisrael. When we said Nasa v'nishma at Sinai, we were accepted to be the people, to be reinstated to that status. So at Sinai, we reverted back to the moment that Adam was created without that evil. God's relationship at that moment vaporized all that evil that was within us. When we partook of the Chet Egel, the sin of the calf, we reverted back to post-sin. We became subject to death again. That evil was reinstated in us. And that's why we had to die. Because the only way that evil could be extracted from us is only through decomposition when a person dies. And ultimately, when a person is to be resurrected, the only matter that's going to be resurrected after the decomposition is only the pure matter. The evil is going to remain in the ground. That's not going to come back. That's the idea. Now, we find when Aaron was initiated to be the Kohen Gadol, or the Kohen, the carbon he brought was Egel ben Boker. Klal Yisrael did not bring an Egel. They brought a soyer. So why did they bring a goat, not the calf? So Rashi brings Cites Chazal because Ein Katev Nasa Sanheger. Because a prosecutor cannot be an advocate. So the Rachaim HaKadosh asked the question, so why was Aaron able to bring the Egel? Why don't we say the same thing? Ein Katev Nasa Sanheger. A prosecutor cannot be an advocate. And here it says, why was Elazar the one to oversee the paraduma? Because Ein Katev Nasa Sanheger. This is Aaron. So why, to qualify him to officiate as the Kohen, he was able to bring an Egel. Their Egel is not in Katek and Nasanheger. The prosecutors could be the advocate. So Or Chaim explained over there, because Aaron, his intent was not Chas v'Sholem, that there should be a deity. It was only a delay tactic to delay them until Moshe Rabbeinu returns. It turned out it happened so quickly, and therefore he couldn't prevent it. But factually, since he did not actually believe or participate, it was only his action which brought it about, therefore the claim is not the same against him. Therefore he could bring the Egel as his atonement, to be instated as the Kohen Gadol, or the Kohen. Klal Yisrael, who actually, they were involved with the Egel as a deity, the Egel cannot be their atonement, because the prosecutor cannot be an advocate. Over here we're talking about death. The contamination of the dead, what is that a derivative? That's the derivative of the Chet Egel. Here, it's not a question because you did idolatry. Why was death reinstated? Because Aaron gathered the gold. That's why. That was the Egel. The Egel factually is what caused death to come back. We reverted back to post-sin because of the Egel. Now, who was involved in the Egel? Aaron was involved in the Egel. At this level, as an officiant, you're qualified. But as the process to remove death, Aaron is not qualified to remove that. Because since Aaron's involvement was the cause of bringing about death, therefore, Ein Katev Nasa Sanheger. The Egel, which is kapara, which is able to relieve us of this derivative or this consequence of evil, Aaron doesn't qualify. So when we speak about mechaper, what does mechaper mean? What does it mean? It's an atonement. And what way does it atone? The contamination of dead is rooted in the chet of what? Of the Eitz Hadas. That is the evil of the Eitz Hadas, and that the Egel brought that back. Meaning that chet which you cannot contend with, and that's why mikveh doesn't work, doesn't help on that one. Because we're dealing with death. I mean, you can bring all the karbonos in the world. One of you not intoned. Chil Hashem. Chil Hashem, it says only Misa Mechaperes. The Rambam's words. Person has Tshuva Yom Kippur Yisurim. Suffering. And Rechaim HaKadosh brings this out. All the suffering in the world. You live for 1,000 years. You've not atoned until you die. Death is only what brings it about. Because Chil Hashem is the equivalent of what? Of the Chet of the Eitz Hadas. Chil Hashem emanates. That level, that intensity of evil is what that's Chil Hashem. So just as for the Eitz Hadas, the only way we're able to have relevance to our original level was we have to die, therefore Chil Hashem, the only way a person's atoned, fully atoned, with tshuva, with Yom Kippur, with all the suffering, Rambam's words, Misa Gomeres Esa Kapora. Death completes the atonement process. So the same thing. The paraduma addresses that issue. That's what it means. It's mechaper.